Mike from Southside Production here. Today, I wanted to go through something that everybody needs to know if they want to be a good camera operator. And I'm talking about tripod heads. When you sit down to a camera, the very first thing to do, assuming that you're assigned that camera, is readjust it to fit you. I've just sat down here and it's pretty close, but I'm going to go through and adjust it to suit me. First things first, let's dive in with a warning. I'm going to adjust this to how I work, to how I kind of like to have my tripod. How you like your tripod may be different. You may like more or less tension, you may like things in different places, and that is okay. You don't have to work like I do. But I'm going to show you how to adjust it and how you can play with those adjustments to kind of find what works for you, what works for your body, and what works for the kind of stuff you're doing. So let's dive into the very first thing. When you sit down, your tripod head will be locked. You have two locks on your tripod, one for the tilt and one for the pan. In this case, on our Vinten tripod heads, those are both on the left front, these two little flippers. If you have a different tripod or are using one of our other tripods, they may be in different places. You might have to look around. You'll find them when you adjust them and then the head comes loose. If the head is stuttering, you haven't released it yet. Moving along is tension. Fluid head tripods for video have adjustable tension so that you can determine how much the tripod will fight you. Why do you want your tripod to fight you, you ask? Simple. A smooth, steady shot involves a consistent movement. You want the tripod to resist all the little movements, but you want it to continue doing the big one. So, once again, using our Vinten tripods as an example, you have a tilt tension right here. You can go all the way down to 0 or all the way up to 9. I usually like to run, there's a little mark here, I usually like to run these at a 3 or a 4. The camera kind of stays where you put it, but it doesn't give so much tension, because if I really crank this down, now the tripod is going to fight my every move. If I'm doing things that require immense stability, that might be useful, but generally I'll start on a 4 and adjust accordingly. Over on the other side is the same kind of a knob, but it does the pan direction instead of the tilt. So you can adjust that all the way down, and the tripod will fight you with every pan. You loosen it off all the way, and suddenly you can move the camera with just one finger. Once again, I like to set that to about a 4, and that gives me a nice balance, pan and tilt, where I do have to move the camera, but at the same time, the camera will actually go where I want it to go without tiring me out. Next, moving through, we have the arms. These arms are controllable in a couple of different places, but the main one is this knob right here. If you loosen this knob off just a little bit, you can control the rotation. If you loosen the knob off more so that the teeth are free, you can adjust how high or low it is. You don't want the tripod arm to be so high or so low that your arm will bunch up when you go to use it. So make sure to set it to a nice neutral position so that you can operate longer. Also on the arm adjustment, you can adjust how long the arms are. There's a little stop marker here. Generally, you'll want to find a good length for where your hand sits and just tighten it down. Once again, looking for a neutral position. Same thing applies to the zoom side as the focus side I just showed. You want to adjust it until it's in a comfortable, neutral position. If you're running a camera for hours on end, you do not want to be fatigued just by how the camera is set up. As far as the focus and zoom controls go, those knobs are right here at the top, and you can loosen them off and adjust the angle or you can even move them up or down depending on what works for your body. When you get it to the right place, just lock it down, and now that'll stay, and you can actually control the camera with the zoom and focus controls. Last thing, you want to adjust your monitor to be in a good place. And that may involve moving it around, and adjusting. I like to have mine directly behind the camera so that it's almost like I'm looking through the camera with the monitor. You don't want it too low or too high, otherwise you have to crane your neck in order to use it. Now I've gone through and tweaked and gotten this camera ready for me to operate. When you go to operate it, it's going to be different. Don't worry about that, just work through and make sure that the camera fits you and works for you. Now there is one thing to consider when you make adjustments. There's a lot of weight here. There's a lot of weight here. The camera is also a lot of weight. If you shift things around too much, say bring these controls way back, you're going to adjust the center of gravity of the camera. And if that gets too far off center, the tripod will then fight you just because it's off balance. If you run into that, you might need to ask your technical director, in Southside's case, that'd be me, to help you adjust it. Most of the time, you can adjust a camera rig to get it kind of nicely balanced, especially with playing where the plate sits in the tripod head. But you'll want to make sure that's okay too. Otherwise, you're just going to fight a camera that you really don't need to be fighting. Anyways, I hope that's locked down the tension of tripod heads. Until next time, that's a wrap.